What's the food like?
Top job the weekend, maybe. Yeah.
Walk up the main street of Nina towards Summerhill, keep going until you come to a door with the word push written on it with indelible marker. Stand still and indulge the thrill, because you will be standing outside Noel McQuaid's traditional Irish music emporium, and if you step inside you'll know why it's the best traditional music shop in the world. Because he's got banjos, and he's got bongos, and he's got bowrons, and he's got balalaikas inlaid with genuine mother of plastic brought all the way from Belarus. They even light up in the dark all by themselves. And he's got bazookas, and he's got guitars made in Taiwan, Hong Kong, Tokyo, and Tumavara. He even has guitars made from tin cans by geriatric chimpanzees living rough in cardboard boxes on the streets of Polokwane. They're lucky to have a job to go to. And he's got boxes of strings under his counter for every stringed instrument under the sun. And if he didn't have the string that you were looking for, he'd go into the back of his shop where, using only an ordinary pliers and bits and pieces of broken strings picked up from the floor, he'd fashion for you the finest bronze wound beauty that you ever saw in your life. And if you wanted a ball in it, he'd put a ball in it. And if you had the misfortune to lose your temper at a session and hit a heckler over the head with your mandola, he'd take your broken mandola into the back of his shop where, using only an ordinary pliers and bits and pieces of the broken Appalachian dulcimer and old hurdy-gurdy and gorilla glue, he'd repair for you your mandola and hand it back to you looking as good as new, better in fact than the day that Joe Foley put it into your hands somewhere up in Rathfarnham. And he's got percussion instruments to beat the band, and wind instruments both new and second hand. And he's got whistles, big whistles, small whistles, short whistles, long whistles, high whistles, low whistles. He even has slow whistles for the slow learners and the musically retarded like me. And he's got CDs sprawled all across his wall featuring every blessed man, woman and child that ever played a traditional note in their lives. And if he didn't have the CD that you were looking for, he'd go into the back of his shop where, using only an ordinary pliers and bits and pieces of broken CDs picked up from the floor, he'd make for you a brand new copy of the greatest hits of Tom Lawlor, volumes 1 to 24, or whatever it is that you were looking for yourself. And he's got harmonicas on the bottom shelf and concertinas on the top shelf. And he's got fiddles and flutes that look so cute you'd nearly think they play tunes all by themselves. And he's got a mountain of books as big as Kilimanjaro. He's got books of tunes piled up on top of more books of tunes. He's got a book that will teach you how to restrain yourself at a session if a one-armed man walks in and starts playing the spoons. And he's got books of songs and books about books of songs. And he's got books about songs that were turned into movies and books about songs that were turned back into books. And he's got a book that will teach you how to play the kazoo, the glockenspiel, the tambourine, and the didgeridoo all at the same time. And he's got a book written by the legendary Tom Lawlor that will teach you how to wink and smile and play killer tunes all at the same time. And if he didn't have the book that you were looking for, he'd go into the back of the shop where, using only an ordinary pliers and bits and pieces of scraps of paper picked up from the floor and an old school satchel, he'd make for you a first edition leather-bound copy of Chronicles Part 2, signed by Robert Zimmerman himself, or whatever it was you were looking for yourself. And the day that the man from the Trade Descriptions Office came down to Noel's shop, he said, "Mr. McQuaid, It's come to the attention of my superiors up in Dublin that you were overheard in the back of a van and you were selling a man from Donegal a Japanese-made, handcrafted, genuine Irish, 2,000-year-old authentic antique, traditional Irish slide trombone. And we all know, Mr. McQuaid, that the slide trombone is not a traditional Irish instrument. Well, that's where you'd be wrong, says Noel. My great ancestor, Gandalf Winston Boogie McQuaid, the great blind wandering trombonist born in Cahersiveen in the 1st century, was the first man to introduce the slide trombone into mainstream traditional Irish music. He was at the forefront of the whole Celtic jazz trad, soul, fusion explosion that was sweeping the country at that time. He wrote hundreds of killer tunes, jigs, reels and slides on the slide trombone. He even made his own slide trombones. He is known worldwide as the Stradivarius of the slide trombone. I see, said the man from the Trade Descriptions Office, who had travelled all the way from Dublin. And I suppose you have documentation to prove this. I certainly do, says Noel. Wait there 1 minute. And he went back into the back of his shop, where using only an ordinary pliers and bits and pieces and more scraps of paper picked up from the floor and the label from the inside of the old Appalachian dulcimer, and he made a document that the fellas up in the National Museum of Ireland would only die to have in their collection. I see, says the man from the Trade Descriptions Office, who had travelled all the way from Dublin. This is all very fine, Mr. McQuaid, but this document does not show me how the trombone could possibly be Japanese-made and genuine Irish at the same time. Obviously, says Noel, you fellas in Dublin know nothing about traditional music, its history and its heroes. Did you not know that my great ancestor Gandalf Winston Boogie McQuaid married a Japanese one called Yoko from Kyoto? She used to be the lead screecher with the experimental combo called the Copper Ono Band, and when the great man was blindly wandering the roads with his trombone, playing killer tunes up and down the country at sessions and gigs, Yoko took over the running of the workshop, and she had sisters over in Kyoto, and they came over to join Yoko in Cahersiveen to give her a hand out in the workshop with the making of the slide trombones. You can see where this is going, can't you? So, says Noel, when I was overheard in the back of the van, Dinny's van, talking to a man from Donegal, selling him a Japanese-made, check, handcrafted, check, genuine Irish, check, 2,000-year-old, check, authentic antique, check, traditional Irish slide trombone, check, check, check. I was in no way good, bad or indifferent in breach of the Trade Descriptions Act. In fact, I was being 100% accurate. So, says Noel, you may take that information and you may shove it politely, or whatever other way you wish to shove it, up your yin-yang, turn back around, go out that door and fuck off back to Dublin where you came from. And you can tell your superiors up in Dublin that the readers of Roots magazine, Hot Press and Rolling Stone recently voted Noel McQuaid's Traditional Irish Music Emporium to be the best traditional music shop in the world. And, says Noel, if you ever darken my door again, if you ever darken my door again, I will personally drag you into the back of my shop, where, using only an ordinary pliers and nothing else, I will, without mercy, without anaesthetic, liberate your Leroy thee in slow motion from your scrotum, and you will never play another sweet note on your didgeridoo ever again. He's a traditional man.